Well, we're not going to have a break. Welcome back, everybody. Dead silence, dead air is a kiss of death in the radio business, as I've been told. And, Sean, we're back at 101.5 FM, WLCB, Slade's Corner, Wisconsin. I left my cheat sheet at home, Sean, but I just want to remind our listeners, our loyal listeners, that this is a non-for-profit radio station. And all of the producers and show hosts do this as a labor of love to help educate and entertain you throughout the week. So we make our way by virtue of charitable donations from our generous listeners that are out there. And Sean, what's the website that they can go to offer a dime, $1, $5, $10, $100, whatever they think they can comfortably unload?
Sure. Yeah, it's Lakes Radio, LAKESRADIO.org. And when you get out there, you should see a picture of Mr. Miksch and Your Insurance Corner page. And just up at the top, you'll see the donate button. If you click on that, take you through PayPal, and you can make a donation that way. Or if you want to drop in the check in the mail, you can always send one to Lakes Broadcasting. And that's at 629 Pontiac Court, Round Lake Beach, Illinois, 60073.
All righty, Aphrodite. Well, Sean, somewhere between you, me, and Chris, we're going to have to figure this out, because this is the second time this has happened. And I don't understand what I'm doing wrong, or if it's the board, or just what.
Okay.
And, of course, I'm seeing a red light break missed. Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
So, all right. Sean's the big boss man here, folks, just so you know. And he graciously gives up his time and his time with his beautiful bride to be with yours truly. So I greatly appreciate your effort, Sean. It's much appreciated.
Well, that's why I'm bored, so I have a reason to show up every week.
Get educated by yours truly, right? So, all right, so we're going to go back to this balance bill thing. I'm going to continue to read this because it's important, folks, to understand how this whole thing works. So, as I said, emergency services are generally not allowed to be balance billed, and especially including if you're in a stable condition, unless you've given written consent. And I covered some of the providers, but I'm just going to read this one paragraph. When you get services from an in-network hospital or ambulatory surgical care, certain providers may be out of network. In these cases, the most providers can bill is your plan's in-network cost-sharing amount. This applies to emergency medicine, anesthesia, pathology, radiology, laboratory, neonatology, assistant surgeons, a hospitalist. Sean, do you know what a hospitalist is?
A person that works at a hospital.
He is your primary doctor in the hospital. So in the old days when we were younger, your primary care doctor had admitting privileges and would walk you into the door, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah, they would go with you. So this isn't your primary doctor. This is just a doctor of the hospital.
That's right. And your primary
kind of quarterbacks, yeah.
Yeah, the doctor who knows you hands you off to the hospital, and the hospitalist takes over and doesn't know anything about you except what might be in the record, and then is supposed to, theoretically, communicate with the primary as to what's going on with your care. Now, I don't know exactly what that happens. I'm going to share a short story with you. I know if Sally's listening, she's going to roll her eyes because I've told this story a million times, but I don't think I've told it on the air. I had a staph infection in my leg several years ago from a mosquito bite, and I ended up in the hospital for 3 or 4 days, right around the time soccer tryouts were happening, and I was a head coach for a soccer program, and tryouts were about to start, and I was really antsy to get out of there. I have high blood pressure, so they put me on a no-salt diet. When I got my food to order, I didn't have any. I had pureed this and pureed that and just garbage food. So I asked the nurse, I'm like, what's up with this? And then the hospitalist comes in, and they say, well, sir, you have high blood pressure. And I'm like, yep, and I have no food restrictions. You're not my physician. My physician has not given me any restrictions, so I want to eat what I want to eat. Otherwise, I'm going to become really not a happy person. So that kind of fell on deaf ears. So I called my surgeon, Sandra, and I told her what happened. And amongst the things that she did is that she came over and took a look at my leg and fixed that up, but then also took care of my dietary needs. So I had to call in the cavalry to get my way, which I did. But the hospitalist is the primary care doctor while you're in the hospital. Let me see. If you get any of these types of services in network facilities, out-of-network providers cannot balance bill you unless, again, you've given written consent. So the key here, folks, is you don't want to give written consent. Don't give away your rights. You are not obligated to sign anything. And if you feel uncomfortable, don't. There's a saying that a friend of mine said, and I kind of like the saying that says, it's either a heck yes or a heck no. If your gut is wishy-washy, it's a no. If your gut is spot on and yes, do it. If your gut is anything other than a hard yes, it's a no, or at least wait. So this balance billing thing is a big deal. The government passed a law that says the out-of-network providers must now give you a heads up that they're no longer in network, and also provide you a piece of paper, which, by the way, probably is a statement that says you agree to pay my fee. And the patients don't know any better, so I bet you any money, Sean, they're signing this. And in my example of what I'm having to deal with this 14-year-old is, again, we've got an out-of-network doctor within about a 50-mile radius. This one doctor is the only doctor that apparently can do this kind of a surgery. And I'm not saying that out of hand. This is what I was told by the mom who, along with the other surgeon, confirmed that there's another surgeon within a 50-mile radius of this guy. So there's a lot of maxillofacial doctors. I've looked myself, but they're mostly dentists. So this is a big deal. So when I go approach the hospital, I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get my way. Now, there's one other thing about out-of-network doctors, particularly physicians that are working as a doctor of privilege in a hospital, not a staff employee or a staff doctor. They have this thing called a National Provider Number, or NPI number. And that number identifies them as who they are. Excuse me. The NPI number of the doctor shows him as in-network, but the hospital, their NPI number is in-network. So the path of least resistance would be for this doctor simply to bill under the hospital's NPI number. Not complicated. Now, is he going to take a haircut? Yep. But this is when I look at this and go, okay, Hippocratic Oath, Hippocratic Oath. We don't know how good you are. Yeah, Northwest, the hospital gave you privileges, but we only have one doctor to look at here. So we have to assume that, and this is not to besmirch you, but why should I pay your fee if you're the only one within a 50-mile radius, and I'm going to be subject to a $20,000 medical bill? When if you had privileges here and you were in network, my out-of-pocket might only be $4,000, and you're going to get paid the rest of it from Blue Cross. Again, that maybe is not as much as you would like, but at least you're going to get paid. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic. That letter is going to go out tomorrow, Sean, after I get a HIPAA letter from the family. And let me see, tomorrow's Wednesday, so I'm going to give the hospital a week to get their ducks in a row, and then I'm going to be calling, and we'll see how it goes. Here's my nuclear bomb in my pocket. if they decide not to negotiate, and my colleague friends that are listening or who know me very well, I don't take no kindly. I don't take no for an answer. I will go to every national media outlet from Maine to Hawaii and make this hospital the poster child, because they all do it. They all do this. And so we're going to make sure that everybody knows that this doctor decided to, for whatever his reasons, not sign any contracts and cause financial harm to the patient. Now, he might be entitled to get paid. I'm not saying he's not entitled. But when your deductibles and out-of-pocket, Sean, are upwards of $8,000 or $9,000, and then you have an out-of-network doctor who's going to charge you $20,000, it's bad enough that you got to have an out-of-network out-of-pocket, an out-of-pocket of $8,000 or $9,000. But now you're subject to another doctor on top of your $8,000 or $9,000 that is not in network at all, and likely you're going to be stuck for the whole bill. That is not only unfair, it's repugnant and immoral. And the way the hospitals can fix this universally, and some have already done this across the country, you want to work here, sign all the papers. Because our patients are our clients. They are your clients and patients also. And the idea of do no harm, Hippocratic Oath, follows suit with sign the contracts, be a doctor. Don't worry about how much money you're making. You'll make enough money to get your BMW. Just saying. So,
you're feisty, Bill.
Yeah.
No, but I understand that, because that's the same thing that happened to me, now not recently, but years ago, where I went into the hospital and I had all kinds of different people coming in managing the care. Never saw the same person twice. When I got home, I got billed from at least 9 different places.
Yep.
Right? Doctor, lab, which I expected labs, but then got billed for the hospital, got billed for this, and all of that. And I saw the doctor for 10 minutes on the last day.
Yeah.
And it was like, I thought I was going to this medical center to get treatment. I didn't know I was getting, that it was like, 10 different entities that were working through that entity.
Yeah.
Come in.
Yeah, and it gets worse when the medical condition is complex, or there's a lot of moving parts, and you've got a lot of different doctors consulting with whoever the attending is, because the attending can only go so far. If he needs more elevated or more educated or more skilled labor, if you will, he's going to call in somebody that knows more than he does or she does, and that's a natural human reaction. I don't know. I'm going to call this guy, or I'm going to call this doctor and find out, bring them into this. And nobody's saying in-network, out-of-network at that point. They're just saying, call Sean, call Dr. Sean, call Dr. Bill, bring him over here. Let's figure this out. Because as I said at the beginning of the show, the medical business, with all due respect to my medical friends, and I have a lot of them, it's not a science. It is a very detailed matter of process of elimination. If this, then that. So sometimes it's not abundantly clear. My daughter, I like to say that we took her into the hospital. We thought she was having an appendicitis attack. $17,000 later, turned out to be a urinary tract infection. Ergo, process of elimination. And I don't begrudge the doctors, because the symptoms were showing appendicitis, or they were showing ovarian cyst problems, or could have been showing something else because of where the pain was emanating from. There was no discussion until later about doing a urinalysis to determine, to knock that out of the box. Had they done that first, maybe it was a couple $100 and we walk out the door. But this is a controllable thing if the brass of the hospitals are either willing to put up a stop sign to say, you want to work here, you got to sign the contracts. I just heard of a hospital, I think somewhere on the East Coast, that's going to actually do this. That at the end of, I think, 2025, any doctor that has privileges there must sign off on all of the contracts, period. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but it's going to be interesting. One other thing about these out-of-network providers or providers in general, and this is a separate issue, Sean, but it's kind of related. I've got a phone call today from a friend of mine, client in Florida, who broke his back, Sean, coughing, and broke his ribs coughing. The coughing was that bad. Broke a couple of ribs and broke I think one of the lumbar and something else, maybe a thoracic. I can't remember the numbers. And he's in a lot of pain. And the doctor who accepts Medicare would not allow a telehealth call to tell him what the findings were on the tests. That they wanted him to come into the office to explain what they said. Now, this guy's in a lot of pain, and he needs surgery. The last thing he wants to do is get into a car with the amount of pain he's got between his ribs and his back and spend 20 minutes or a half hour or an hour in a doctor's office for a 5-minute consult to say this is what we found. And the hospital or the doctor's office is arguing two things with my client. The first was they don't accept Blue Cross. And I said, well, wait a minute. This is Medicare. And he's got a supplement. There is no network. It's any doctor anywhere from Maine to Hawaii. As long as the doctor accepts Medicare, the supplement will take care of the rest of it. Period. There's no network. And they were caught up in this idea that it was, I'm guessing they thought it was a Medicare Advantage plan, which are fairly popular in Florida.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand that. And then they said, well, we don't accept Blue Cross of Illinois. And then I rolled my eyes again. I'm like, it's a supplement. Tell them it's a supplement. And then they said, well, Medicare doesn't cover telehealth. Well, do tell. So guess what? I went on Google and I said, telehealth Medicare. And right out the bat, telehealth is covered by Medicare. Now, here is an by the way that I did not know about until I read this little paragraph. Telehealth is covered, folks, by Medicare and your supplement. But at the end of 2025, I think it's at the end of 2025, that telehealth rule is going to be sunset except for people in rural communities only, which means, Sean, people that live in urban communities will not have telehealth services. They have to come in.
Seems to me like a doctor's office is more expensive than telehealth.
Oh, yeah, by half. If your doctor's visit is going to cost you $150, the telehealth might also only cost $50. Because you don't need all the office setting. You just need a computer and a phone and maybe a video, conference call capability to have a discussion with the patient. That's it. Right. It's a fraction of the cost. But even Medicare is saying, and this is a way to, this is all about money, folks. It ain't about quality of care. That particular rule, the way I read it, is going to sunset at the end of 2025. And unless you live in a rural area, you will not have telehealth services under Medicare going forward unless the Medicare carrier has a separate provision that says, that's fine, we'll take care of it. So a very interesting dynamic of conflicts. Now, there's one other thing I wanted to bring up, and remember, Sean, I said that, my day-to-day experience has a way of creating some motivations. There's another situation that has occurred at a different hospital in Tennessee. A client of mine ended up on vacation in the emergency room in this hospital in Tennessee. Everything was fine. The bill was $30,000. The hospital issued an invoice with all of the nuts and bolts, all the bells and whistles of the discounts and this and that, and the final bill was $1,590. Now, unbeknownst to the client, the carrier in Florida had not processed the claim yet, but the hospital went ahead and issued an invoice, and the client paid it. I would have paid it. You would have paid it. You thought it was done. A month later, they get another bill for $3,400. Pretty much double. And those numbers match to the penny what the carrier did for processing the claim. So had the hospital just waited an extra month for the carrier to process the claim, I wouldn't be having to fight this fight. But instead, they issued a bill, and then a month later, they revised the bill and issued another one and basically doubled up the payment because that's what the insurance company said the patient owed. And that's, in the perfect world, that's legitimate. My argument here with this hospital, and we've got no issues with network, so the network's not at issue. My issue with them is you jumped the gun. You took another bite at the apple, and you didn't, first of all, you know better than anybody that you should wait until the insurance company gets done processing the claim. You went ahead and issued an invoice to the patient. Patient paid the bill. Everybody thought it was done, and then you doubled up on him. You took another bite at the apple. That's not fair. Now, it might not be fair that you have to eat $1,900, which is the difference, but at a hospital that makes close to $500 million a year in revenue, the loss of $1,900 doesn't even show up on the radar screen. That's first. Second, the hospital is in a position of knowledge to know that if the carrier had not processed the claim, they shouldn't be sending out a bill. They could do a balance bill or whatever, or they can say, okay, this is not an invoice. Your insurance company hasn't processed the claim, but this is what we think the bill is going to be. That wasn't done either. The invoice clearly says this is the invoice. So that's another battle that's going to start tomorrow also.
Wow.
So I'm not as up.
I kind of understand, though, from the perspective of the hospital. I mean, they need to get paid. They've got to pay their staff. And I understand they're big company, deep pockets, but at some point, you got to kind of kick the can to the next stage, which is sending out that invoice, right?
Right.
And so they weren't getting their money fast enough from Shifting Sands Insurance Company, so then they go ahead and send a bill to the patient because they want to get paid. Mm-hmm. But that was their only recourse. I kind of understand why they do it, but yeah, I'd be just as frustrated because it's like, but now you are getting your money from this, and now I got to go back and reconcile, and yeah, it makes it a big mess. Yeah,
and you know what was frustrating here, Sean, is I talked to the carrier today, and there's nothing they can do about it. We processed the claim. The deductible's $3,400. That's what the guy owes. And I said, you can't step in and do anything? They said, no, there's nothing we can do here. We did our part. They just jumped the gun. My words, not theirs. And you're going to have to deal with the hospital yourself. That was their attitude. So, and by the way, that was the attitude of the carrier here in Illinois. Their attitude was, and I'm paraphrasing here, but her attitude was, well, that's just the way it goes. Really? You want to tell that to the patient? So I don't know. We'll see when we come back next week, Sean, if I have any resolution to either one of these conundrums that I've got. My instincts are probably not, because the letters are going out tomorrow, but maybe I'll expedite it. It'll be overnighted Wednesday. They get it Thursday. And maybe I call them and I say, listen, I'm calling on Monday, so you better be prepared. And we'll see what happens.
It'll be in the mailroom till 2 weeks from Friday.
Except for the fact that I'm sending it by FedEx with signature requirements. So somebody's going to have to sign off on it. I'll make sure I put the white powder in there just in case.
Hey, don't even joke.
Yeah. So, last couple things, folks. Last several shows, I've been running out of time to get to some messages. So I came across this little article, Sean. Got to put my glasses on so I can see what I'm reading here. 10 phrases for when you need motivation. I'm just going to cover a couple of these. So the first one is inertia is power. And then the thing they start out by saying, why is it easy to get into debt or gain weight? Because we get into a routine of doing things because they are comfortable. We get up, we go to bed at the same time. We shop in the same stores. We eat lunch at the same places. We get into routine. It's difficult to break out of that cycle. Motivation. We have all heard about habits. They can be good or bad. Research has found that although it can take a long time to break a bad habit, adopting a new habit takes about 21 days. If a new habit is to prospect daily or call 5 clients a day with a new idea requiring fresh money, could you keep that up for 21 days and see what happens? So that could be in any walk of life, whether you're in sales, Sean, or you're in retail. We all get into a routine, and it's regular, and people get comfortable with it, and that's okay. That's where they want to be. That's okay. But if you want to grow, as they like to say, you have to expand your comfort zone. And so this is part of that, is try to create a new habit. Do it 21 days in a row. I would almost suggest that you not only do it 21 days in a row, but do it at the same time. Don't intermittently do it. Like in sales, I've got some prospects to call for Medicare, for example. I should probably do that between 10 and noon or 2 and 4. Not both, 10 and noon or 2 and 4. And that's my job between 2 and 4, is to call these prospects and do it at the same time every day.
Sure.
So, any thoughts on that?
No, I do the same thing. Like I schedule, like this is when I'm going to do the follow-up stuff that I don't like to do, but or that like it's going to be a challenge, but I do it every day, or at least I try to.
Yep. Now we're down to about 45 seconds, so I'm not going to read the next one because it's a little bit more involved. So I'm going to hold these off and try to remember to bring these along with me and maybe end each show with one of these motivation things. But with that in mind, Sean, thanks for joining. I know somebody was just messing with the board. I don't know if that was you or Chris, but
we got it fixed.
Yeah. So it was an operator error. Is that a fair statement?
You are no longer responsible for this action.
Yes, but it was an operator error, right? I didn't do anything wrong? Okay, good. So
nope.
All
You're
right.
good.
I'm good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's Sean Hauser. My name is Bill Miksch. This is Your Insurance Corner. Have a wonderful night at 101.5 FM WLCB. We'll see you next week. Have a great night, everybody.